to dwell on the idea of the nature of law because that was something that was central in John Gardner's remarks as well, the idea that law clearly has a nature. Now, the main tradition of legal theory before Bentham, whom I regard as the sort of founder of distinctively legal positivism, although he certainly looks back to Hobbes, inspired by Hobbes and to a lesser extent by Hume. The main tradition regards it as really something to be earned, to say that something like law has a nature. It's not at all obvious what it is to say about laws, political systems, social systems, human arrangements, human affairs in general, that they have a nature or that the elements in them have a nature. Really rather challenging because we're dealing with stuff which is made up of the products of free choices by countless people on countless different occasions, expressed in greatly varying languages and self-understandings. And so the idea that we can come in and say of all this, well, this manifests stuff of a certain nature, which part gestures towards with the word phenomena, realities of a certain nature, that's really quite challenging. And that's the challenge that I think self-described modern legal positivist jurisprudence tends to flunk, takes it too easily, and overlooks the ways in which the description of a general phenomenon, a general kind of reality, is dependent not just in the way that Matt granted on what he called evaluative consideration, but on considerations which are not simply evaluative and as he said, they're evaluative but they're not moral, they're theoretical or explanatory. Yes, they've got to be theoretical and explanatory because that's what we're trying to do, give an explanatory theory, but then what are the theoretical and explanatory considerations which one brings to bear in order to sift out of all this varying stuff some realities of a certain nature? And the tradition has said, well, we can do that by thinking about what's really important in human life, and that is evaluative, not just theoretically in an explanatory sense, it's important for us as human beings going forward together, and it's a matter of things like common good and rights and justice and so forth. And law then emerges out of concerns that everybody can have for common good and for justice as something that's needed in any society to secure common good and promote justice. And if legal positivism is the school of people who just deny that there is that need, then I think it loses all claim to be plausible. And most people nowadays put themselves forward as at least sustaining some theory of legal positivism, deny that they reject that sort of connection. They think, no, parts of legal theory do have to do with the link between law and the common good. It's just that they're distinct from the part that says law is something distinct from morality. Now, that separability thesis, we can distinguish between law and morals, that too, which is, I think, that's primary sense of legal positivism, one that he wants to subscribe to. The difficulty about that is it doesn't seem to be distinctive either, because that law can be immoral, and that therefore one can separate and must separate law from morality. You must point to major distinguishing features of law on the one hand and morality on the other. That's something massively asserted in the tradition against which legal positivists regard themselves as reacting. An unjust law is not a law. So that claim, to the extent that it's put forward in the tradition, asserts on the one hand you can separate law and morality. You have law that is thoroughly unjust and yet is good. To say that it's not a law, in the second half of the sentence, which is the red rag to the bull, just says something quite commonsensical, such as we say all the time when we say a quack medicine is not a medicine, a bad argument, an invalid argument is not an argument. There's something quite banal about such sayings, and why they cause such excitement when they apply to the law is deeply mysterious to me, and I can't leave the point there.